Children? What? Say that. Say that on radio, that sounds bonkers. Go on, Dan, I'm not being dismissive. What? George Bush and children what?
Well, he's a notorious paedophile, Father George Bush.
Whoa, there we go.
Absolutely.
Obviously not the views of the BBC. I obviously have to say that, Dan. You would be aware that
They wouldn't be in TV3.
Actually, hold on. I've just looked at the guidelines. That is...
He has been for 20 years, and I've written about it a great deal in my books.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean,
right,
the thing is, Andy, the thing is that the world is not just a little bit not like what we think it is. The world is nothing like what we think it is. Because what we're seeing in the mainstream media is a movie. It is a movie to keep our minds occupied, while the real agenda can go on behind it. And that's
fair enough. I completely agree with you, Dan. I wouldn't dispute any of that.
That's interesting because there's something about you, Dan, that people might not know. You don't use toilet paper.
No.
Because if we were to ask the audience what is the one thing you couldn't live without, most would say toilet paper. So, why?
Well, all right. I guess I was just having an increasing discomfort with disposables in general. And so I was looking for ways to replace all the, disposable things in my life. So I thought, why not try something else that does not seem so wasteful? So I cut up an old baby blanket, made of flannel, cut it into squares, and we started using those. And just laundering them, as usual, and we kind of liked that option.
Okay, so, you actually use them, I mean, to all intents and purposes, as the equivalent of an adult diaper.
Right.
A lot of people, Dan, are listening to this right now, and I'm sure you know this already because we've had this discussion with people that you've met, and they're thinking, yeah!
Right, and I guess a lot of people feel that way about cloth diapers as well, but once you start getting used to it, you realize it's not that big of a deal. You use it, you wash it, it comes back clean, and then you just reuse it.
Okay, probably a heavy discussion, but an important one.
Now, next up, would you pay for your son to lose his virginity? What about if he was disabled? Well, a new law in Holland is giving disabled people 12 free vouchers to visit prostitutes every year. And recently, a local mother has revealed that she brought her son to Holland to do exactly that. Her only regret? That she didn't do it sooner. So now, if you're a mom or dad, would you consider this for your son or daughter if they had a disability? What do you think, Dan?
Well, listen. I think being a parent is a very difficult thing. But what I think this woman should be commended for, and I don't really know any more about her than her story, is the fact that she has made a recognition that we far too often deny in this part of the world. That human beings have a sexual need.
That's true.
That sexual gratification is an important part of being a human being. And she's recognized that her son has found that. So and it can occur within those circumstances. But actually, many people, for example, like myself, I believe sex is also a physical act. It can be enjoyed simply for the act itself.
Just a physical? It can be just a physical act, though.
Absolutely.
Cheapen it?
No. Why should recognition of sex simply being a human pleasure cheapen anything?
And the parents saying to a child, money will buy you that gratification.
Listen, compared to many young people who will go out on a Friday and a Saturday night and pay through a bar to get somebody completely drunk and then have sex with them, consent, which is usually drunk, well, that's prostitution by proxy. Now, the kind of many young people up and down this land are having every Friday and Saturday night.
Well, there's three things wrong with this situation. First is the assumption that disabled people don't have a good sex life. The reality is
There is not class for social.
But exactly.
There isn't.
There absolutely is. Lots and lots of disabled people have a great sex life. And lots of disabled people, like able people, have a frustrating or non-existent sex life.
For the people,
That is how
stop
it is.
talking about me here. What if, and I know exactly what you're hinting at, what if because of a physical disability, you can't?
But you can, but people can. You absolutely can.
No, I'm sorry, that's absolutely,
We should give them support to get out of the house.
Now, there's plenty of people out there who do not find it easy, whether they are disabled or able-bodied. For me, this isn't about the disabled at all. This is about people who simply cannot form the sort of relationships that you or I possibly can. Why should we deny to those people who find it difficult to do that the opportunity to do
what
that?
you're missing here is the way that money is suddenly having a big impact on the apportioning of consent.
Okay.
And what we know about the sex industry is that it is riddled with abuse. I think we're forgetting about the women trapped in the sex industry.
Okay, let's talk
the
about
reality
women I
is
actually
that
know.
90%, and I've worked with a lot of survivors of the sex industry, don't want to be in it.
Okay.
The average age of entry into
That's
prostitution in this country is 14. I find that an absolute disgrace.
Okay.
We have to do something to tackle the abuse that persists there.
Okay, I fully admit there's an unsavory side of any industry, including the prostitution. But the women I know who work in it have a choice. They feel empowered by it.
They're absolutely
They are happy. And why on earth, when we're talking about exploitation of women here, why is it exploitation just because they're selling their genitals? But when we talk about selling your brain, you're selling your hands to work in a factory, that's not exploitation.
It's a different.
If that's the case, is a vagina cheaper than a brain?
It's a different.
I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
the idea
Let's
that
just
find
hold
someone's
that
consent
thought of that
equivalent to
question.
someone
There's
hiring
more
someone to work in a
things we have
sweatshop.
to talk
I mean, talk about treating women like things.
And there's men working in it, it's not a male-female thing.
Okay, moving on.
Dan, you said something very interesting about ghosts recently. He said if he saw one, he wouldn't be scared. He'd be happy, because then he'd know there was an afterlife. That's very clever, my friend.
Thank you.
No. When you say something smart, I like to compliment you on it.
Well, I think about these things a lot.
Dan, my friend, I hate to tell. You know, I think about this as well.
Don't we all?
Maybe not as much as you do, of course, especially as you get older. Doctor turns to you and says, take an aspirin a day.
And let me put a pipe up your butt.
Let me put a pipe up your ass every 5 years. So, you know, you start to think about it. We enjoy our lives and would like to have something go on. And then I start to think, and here's what really blows my mind. I go, maybe there's an afterlife. And, you know, because our consciousness is high level, we think, we have thoughts, we talk, we create, we sing, we build buildings, you know? We do all sorts of things. And so then I go, wait a second, you were telling me that all the animals we eat and die go to heaven too?
Yeah, and ants build these amazing ant colonies.
But
They have intelligence
what
too.
is it?
They go to heaven.
They ain't going anywhere.
But what is this heaven you're talking about?
Exactly. The heaven they're talking about in the Bible doesn't exist.
No.
And we're not going anywhere. Here's what happens. That's it.
But you're not just this physical thing. You know that, don't you?
No. I don't know that. Honestly, I don't. I mean, I know there's something working here.
There's something that animates this physical
No.
thing.
Well, they say energy can be created or destroyed.
And energy doesn't get destroyed. That's what I'm talking about. There is something that is eternal.
But your consciousness doesn't go on.
Not your consciousness.
Your
it's the
soul.
life force that doesn't go away.
But what you're saying What is the quality of this existence after you die? That's what we're trying.
There's still existence after you die.
So
You go to
there
another
you go.
existence.
What existence is that?
The existence of energy.
Ah.
What you were before.
Yeah. Do you remember what you were before?
No,
I was going to say, I don't remember.
No recollection of that.
I don't remember
one side
having
to
a
the
good
other.
time being energy.
But it is beautiful. It's more beautiful than this.
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know what the fuck you're
Haven't you ever been on a trip, my friend?
No. I don't know what you're saying. But you know, also, what you're saying sounds depressing.
Oh, stop it.
It's not what we're looking for. We're looking
Well,
for...
You want to be Gina
Oh,
wherever
now you're
you go.
talking.
Because
Because
you're
I'm
whacking.
Gina.
No, because you're whacking.
Who wouldn't want to be Gina wherever they go?
Well, you
You
know.
don't want to be Gina in the afterlife, nobody would
By
accept
the
you.
way, you're giving me hope. I'm going to be somebody different in the afterlife.
You're not going to be somebody, you're not somebody.
I don't know what you're
Body
saying.
being
I
the
can't.
operative
I'm blocking you out. La 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 la.
Can I say, Gina?
My life is going to be back in Stillwater.
That's a very, I just said a very profound
Well.
thing. You are not somebody.
Did you learn this when you studied witchcraft? Because you seem very knowledgeable about what's going to happen.
Look, there is an essence that is. It was there before you, and it's here after you. That is you.